The lyric in that song that I love the most is confirm thy soul in self-control. Confirm thy soul in self-control. So let's get to know each other a little bit, shall we? Lewis Howes, former arena football player, now motivational speaker, dreamboat, is credited with saying, the most important thing to remember is you must know your audience. Hence the name tags. Ed. So, I do think that it's more than just knowing the names, though. It's about gaining understanding before action. And that's what I mean by getting your ducks in a row. So before we go any further, I need some volunteers. And I would like to have, first, volunteers under the age of 18. Wow. Let's not all run at once. I'm only going to make you say one word and hold one thing. I have one. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm going to give you this one. Give you this one. There we go. That's for you. That's for you. That's for you. And that's for you. And that's for you. Hello, darling. All right. Now, all I'm going to make you do is read what you have on your ducks. Simple. Not going to hurt you.
Still.
I am.
Say again.
And. No.
Be.
God.
Be.
God.
Be.
God.
I like that.
That.
Thank you, volunteers. Keep your ducks and return to your seats. I'm going to need you later. So that did not make much sense at all. But that's okay. It wasn't supposed to. But can anyone here remember a time when you acted without really understanding the situation? Well, yeah. What happened? You don't have to tell me. Maybe it turned out okay, but most often it ends in disaster. But in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13, we learn that the person who finds wisdom and obtains understanding is blessed. Wisdom and understanding are two of the 12 powers, and July focuses on understanding. Hence the gold. Gold's the color of understanding. The affirmation for the power of understanding is, my understanding of truth deepens and directs my life. We should say that together. My understanding of truth deepens and directs my life. Yeah. The action comes after my understanding of truth. So, has anyone ever heard of Barack? If you were thinking Barack Obama, think again. I'm talking about another Barack, one whose story is told in the Old Testament book of Judges, chapter 4. And the story goes like this. The Israelites lived in the land of Canaan, and for a period of time they were ruled by judges. The only female judge was named Deborah of the Palm. She's called Deborah of the Palm because she sat under a palm tree. Very original. So the Israelites always had enemies. And it wouldn't really be a story, if there was a conflict, so they had to have enemies. This particular enemy in this story was named Jabin. And his army was commanded by Sisera. You don't have to remember any of this now. But Deborah asked Barak, the leader of Israel's army, to go into battle and fight Jabin's army. Deborah told Barak that the Lord would help him and that he would win the battle. But Barak didn't want to go alone because Sisera was such a mighty general, and he was in command of a huge army that had 900 iron chariots. I mean, can you imagine, like, you're a little scrawny Israelite and you're going into battle against 900 iron chariots, and you don't even have a gun. That'd be pretty scary. So Barak told Deborah,
I'm a scared little man and I'm not going to go into battle without you.
So Deborah said, well, usually women don't go into battle, Barak, but I'll go with you. However, because of the way you're handling this situation, the honor of conquering Sisera is not going to go to you. It will go to a woman. There's no mention in Scripture about Barak's reaction, and I think that that is very important. Biblical scholars through the ages have said that the reason why the honor went to a woman is because of Barak's lack of faith. I think it's a little bit different. So Barak gathered an army of 10,000 men from the region of Naphtali and the region of Zebulun and stationed them on top of Mount Tabor, which you see here. And when Deborah told Barak to begin to fight, the army rushed down into the valley to fight against Sisera's army and all of the strong chariots which Sisera had led between the Kishon River and Mount Tabor. So they go running down the mountain after those chariots. It didn't matter that they didn't have guns. It didn't matter that they didn't have shields or swords or whatever. They just went running. Faith, run. And an amazing thing happened. It started to rain. It kept raining. And the ground became saturated. And the river Kishon spilled over its banks. What happens to an iron chariot in the mud? It gets stuck. Sisera's army ran right out of there. Because when you ride around in an iron chariot, your muscles kind of deteriorate. You know, you get a little junk in your trunk. But those Israelites run. They're strong. Yeah, and them big old boys running after them scrawny little boys. No, they didn't want none of that. They ran. They got up out of there quick. Sisera fled in the opposite direction. He fled back to his homeland, to a woman's tent. This woman was named Jael. He fled where he thought he was safe. He thought he could trust Jael. And the operative word there is thought. Sisera met his demise at the hand of Jael, just like Deborah prophesied. And then Deborah writes a song about the whole ordeal, and it's passed down through the ages, and I can tell you about it today. That's great, you say. But how does any of this apply to self-control and understanding and ducks? Those of us who are familiar with unity and parables know that there is more to the story than just the story itself. And that is what I love about unity and about these stories. Let's face it, I have no way of proving to you that this warrior from the 12th century BCE even existed. But we can still learn from it, just like we can learn from a war hero who served this country in World War II. He's my favorite. He's my man. He is General George S. Patton. And as you can see, he was a highly decorated 4-star general in the U.S. Army. He's most remembered for his command of the U.S. troops during the famous Battle of the Bulge. And I like him for his catchy sayings. Regarding understanding, Patton wisely stated, "Know what you know and what you don't know." In his book, Patton's Principles, Porter Williamson relays a story told by Patton about a Chinese national enlisted in the American Army. Now, this national looked like any American soldier, but he hardly knew any English. This soldier got separated from his unit and eventually got just totally lost and turned around and just, it was over. He was at last stranded at an intersection where he attempted to hitchhike with any Army vehicle just to go anywhere, just get me out of this place. But the problem was that he used his finger to point where he wanted to go instead of his thumb to hitchhike. For one convoy, he pointed down this street. "I want to go this way." Well, that didn't work. So we thought, well, maybe they think I shouldn't go that way, so I'll go this way. I want to go this way. You can guess what happened. Of course, nobody stopped because they knew he was directing traffic. Officers did stop to tell him how to properly direct traffic. And when they discovered that he couldn't speak English, they gave up. This Chinese national knew more than the officers. I mean, at least he knew he was lost. But this is where the lyrics of "Oh Beautiful" are so apropos. The soldier's soul was confirmed in self-control when one officer ensured that the soldier knew exactly which way was northeast. When the soldier pleaded, "No eat, no eat, no eat." In fact, the soldier was saying, "I have not eaten and I'm hungry." The soldier maintained his self-control and never lost his temper, even though he hadn't eaten all day. It took over a week to locate all the troops that were sent in the wrong direction. Troops were scattered all over Louisiana and Texas. Some were even sent back to where they had originated. The Chinese soldier didn't understand the proper signal for hitchhiking, nor how to speak English. And nobody could understand what the Chinese soldier was saying. To have understanding is critical. That happened during war games, during maneuvers. Can you imagine if that had happened on a battlefield? Whoa. That's a sobering thought. Patton advised, prepare for the unknown by studying how others in the past have coped with the unforeseeable and the unpredictable. Our ancient hero, Barak, could not foresee or predict how Sisera was going to respond to the Israelite army's advance. I mean, you're in an iron chariot and there's a bunch of hee-haws running down the hill at you. How are you going to respond? So Barak asked Deborah to accompany him to the battle. I mean, there's a monkey wrench in your plan. They got a woman too. Together they went to Mount Tabor, and as Sisera's army was trapped by the Kishon River, the Israelite army gained victory. Sisera fled to Jael and met his end at her hand. By studying this, or any story from the past, and breaking it down metaphysically, allegorically, figuratively, we gain understanding. I have always loved etymology. That's the study of word histories. Since many languages do not translate directly into English, a great deal can be lost in translation, and etymology helps me gain understanding. So just taking the names in this story, there is much to be learned. Deborah represents wisdom. Barak represents our will, that intense urge to just do something when the situation arises. Mount Tabor translates literally to broken region, but mountains also represent a higher consciousness. Naphtali and Zebulun are strength and order respectively. And Kishon is a trap, laborious to the point of drowning you. Sisera has been triggered, and all he wants to do is mow over a bunch of ill-equipped Israelites with his 900 iron chariots. And those iron chariots, those are emotional, upset to the point of affecting you physically. How many people know what I'm talking about? You've been so emotionally upset that you're shaking, your heart's are racing, your thoughts are going, and you can't even. That's an iron chariot. Some people call it an amygdala hijack. Jael is the human phase of soul consciousness that waits in the quiet and offers rest and kindness. Through her physical actions, Jael eliminates that which does not serve and lifts the consciousness up toward truth to a higher level. And remember Barak's non-reaction to the outcome? Well, it stands to reason that divine will, would only want what is best and not have the selfish desire to achieve credit for the demise of Sisera. So from the metaphysical interpretation of this story, we can see that unchecked emotions are not to be handled by will alone. I mean, you're having a moment. You don't say, well, I'm just going to will this baby away. No. You're just going to will it worse is what you're going to do. You take wisdom. And from a high consciousness, even if you are hurt or broken, you rise above that. And it may feel like those unchecked emotions have you sucked in like mud. Or you may feel like you just want to stay up on that mountain because it's great up there. I mean, the view, oh yeah, I can see for miles. But our recent war hero advises that he didn't measure a man's success by how high he climbed, but how high he bounces when he hits bottom. So I challenge you to take all your courageous and faithful thoughts. These are your men of Israel, along with your infinite supply of strength and order available to you, commanded by the executiveness of your will, accompanied by your spiritual discrimination that is joined with divine wisdom, and run down that mountain. Run. Run so hard that you bounce when you hit bottom. Run so fast that Jabin's army of thoughts that war against the peace that you desire in your head, in your heart, in your home, in your life, in your work, in your world, release their grip on you, on your mind, on your body, on your racing heart, on your breath, on your shaking. They release. Run. Run. Okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna run. I've got Deborah and Barack and Nefertiti and Aphrodite, and we're gonna smash us some Sisyphus. This is all in my head. And my thoughts do not have legs or feet. So, how do I do this? Got this thing falling off my ear. Well, now it's time for my volunteers to come back up front. And while they're coming back up front with their ducks, my medical disclaimer is that if you experience symptoms like I just described, please see a medical doctor and discuss them. Make a fully informed decision about your health. And by all means, if you are already taking medication, do not stop it, because Shelley Sharp Ballish, who knows just enough about medicine and law to be quite dangerous, told you to run down a figurative mountain in your head. Okay? Okay. Okay, ducks, fall in. Awesome. You guys are great. Present arms. They know what I'm talking about. So, we're all going to pretend that my index finger is Deborah. My middle finger is Barak. My ring finger is Naphtali. My pinky finger is Zebulun. And my thumb is the army of Israel. With all my wisdom, all my will, all my strength, all my order, and all of my courageous and faithful thoughts, I am going to create the tent of Jael. Not when I'm chasing Sisera, because these are going to be responsible for chasing Sisera. We can't have him building a tent when we're chasing Sisera. So, in a peaceful time, we're going to build our tent of Jael. This is what I'm going to do. I need my bee. Come here, bee. You're going to come down here. Okay. First order of business is to be. You're a human being, not a human doing. So just be. I don't really need this. And I figured that out first service. I don't know why I grabbed it second service. I need my still. So you're going to be still. Silence, where the answers are received. Be the silence. And you're already here. So come right, just switch places with Mom. There we go. And the joining together. Be silence joined with. Know. Knowledge is power. Be silence joined with the power of knowing. I need my that, my beautiful that. The Sanskrit word for that is tat, this teeny tiny word. It means that the indescribable is now described. You now have a word to describe what you could never describe. It's tat. Be silence joined with the power of knowing the indescribable. And I am is right in place, and so is God. Whew. So, I am, 2 in 1, elimination of duality, the core, the essence, the Christ self, and of course, God. The all there is, the oneness, the allness. Be still and know that I am God. Be the silence joined with the power of knowing the indescribable. which is, I am God. Ooh. You ready for that? Thank you, ducks. So when that flustered tizzy of melodrama came flying into Giles' tent, the scripture says that he asked for water. Water is synonymous with life. Jael did not give him water. She did not give that drama any more life. Scripture also says that Sisera was in a deep sleep. This deep sleep is representative of meditation. Jael provided the physical atmosphere for that bundle of emotional hot mess to just become quiet and settle. And she eliminated it to the core, to the ground, to the source. I'm not going to tell you how she did it. You can read it for yourself. It's kind of gross. Think of how you can provide a physical space conducive to silence, not just in a room, but with your body. I mean, really, how peaceful does this look? Not very, as opposed to this. Do I look like I'm being with this silence, joined with the power of knowing the indescribable? I am. So how many of you were here yesterday? Oh yeah, rock that. So Michael helped us start the Jael tent process. His meditation was a perfect example of be still and know that I am God. We were still and asked how the God in us wanted to express. So now we get to continue getting our ducks in a row. Judges 4:23-24 says, so God subdued on that day. Which day? The day you got your ducks in a row. Jabin, the king of Canaan, before the children of Israel. And the hand of the children of Israel prevailed more and more against Jabin. Why? Because they continued to prepare against the unknown, for the unknown, by studying how their predecessors dealt with it, until they had destroyed Jabin, king of Canaan. I never told you what Jabin meant. The name Jabin in Hebrew represents intelligence, not spiritual intelligence. This is centered in and activated by the mind of the flesh. The Hebrew name is from the root word bain, which means to separate mentally, and that is to say, to understand. My understanding of truth deepens and directs my life. Charles Fillmore in Mysteries of John says, in a well-balanced mind, understanding is followed by action. Action comes after understanding in the well-balanced mind. In all our examples today, we saw that to be confirmed in self-control, move forward with a full hand of divine faculties, have our ducks in a row, be silence joined with the power of knowing the indescribable, which is I am God. That's the way our predecessors did it. And drama plus will equals disaster. So when I find that I'm in the situation of drama, whatever it is, I take a deep breath and say, I do what is mine to do. I hope you take Barak and Deborah, the Naphtali and Zebulun. Will, wisdom, strength, order, and all your courageous and faithful thoughts to gain understanding, to gain victory over Sisera and his 900 iron chariots. Practice being the silence. Know the power of the indescribable, which is you are God. Every one of you. Do this while things are calm, so that you know how to do it and can confirm your soul in self-control when the 900 chariots are on their way. They're going to get stuck in the mud. Trust me. Remember to do only what is yours to do. Now you know how to get your ducks in a row. Be a blessing and be blessed as you navigate this week. Know that I will always only love you.